go yours whenever you're comfortable.
Alright, hello, my name is Joey Keleman, and over the past semester I conducted research on if people could really be brainwashed. Issues regarding brainwashing include, according to Solomon, the use of specific tactics by cults and religions in today's society. Another issue pointed out by Richardson is that many organizations are using brainwashing, therefore it can't be really considered brainwashing in today's society. Why is manipulation important today? Well, manipulation is not right ethically. Just to make someone believe something that they don't want to believe just doesn't seem right. And it can happen to anyone. Anyone's vulnerable to manipulation, and you can see signs of it in basically anything that we do in today's society. My personal interest lies within early childhood years and moral teaching, because I believe that's when the roots of people's moral beliefs are what they're founded upon. How did I find my information? Well, I used the 2 book chapters that we were provided, and also the credible and reliable journals that I found on the library's paid sources. I specifically searched on JSTOR, where I found reliable journals. Terms searched include manipulation, brainwashing, and persuasiveness. The articles found included material on cults, religions, and wars and specific government characteristics. My preparation included reading through each article, additional research, and also practice. My first yes is by Solomon in 1983. He pointed out the Korean War as his first factor in brainwashing, and this is seen through American POWs and the manipulation and interrogation process of communism. You also see this in church and religions, church unification and proliferation, which is basically the seeing without believing factor, is a very popular brainwashing argument. Also, another thing that Solomon points out is the racial factor, white versus black, and how it starts at the home through parental influence. Solomon also points out that brainwashing tactics include isolation and coercion, which is basically the change of attitude through no contact with the outside world. The other yes side is by Brainwashing in 1962. These are all little dated articles due to the fact that brainwashing was more of a scare back then during the time of war with European countries. We see that Red China and communism use racial diabolical views, which we see in the German Purge in the 1930s. China is very strongly influenced by politics and culture, so this is where the brainwashing argument comes in, as well as with the Soviets through their interrogation progress. People will argue that drugs and hypnosis were used, however they were not induced, and this is a social science flaw. We also see, Biderman points out that the military uses brainwashing tactics, and it's clearly evident through the three branches: legitimation, utilization, and systematic. Through legitimation, it's basically like what we're doing, why we're doing it, making it seem right and ethical. The utilization is supporting specific tactics that the military uses, right versus wrong, and also the systematic, which is basically how the military works and believing in ranks and whatnot. Another thing that Biderman points out is the sensory deprivation factor. This also goes along with the hypnosis and the drug-induced factor that is social science flaw, and it was developed in the armed forces, basically involving coercion and isolation. For the first no side by Richardson in 1993, cults and religions, we saw Solomon argue, Richardson argues that cults and religions are more educated people in society. They have more influential power due to their positions in society. And he also points out that brainwashing is very culture rejecting. It's just not a popular belief in the world around us. It's important to note that psychological coercion is used rather than physical coercion, and it's basically known as second generation brainwashing, where they're attacking something else rather than attacking the primary source. Emotion-laden tactics are involved, where they attack the emotions also rather than the physical aspect, as seen in Korea, China, and Soviet interrogation processes. Actions and predispositions of the new members were never altered, argued by Richardson, and it's just adaptation over time and natural surroundings. Also on the No side by Melly in 2008. He argues that it's very just bizarre and terrifying, and it's a science fiction that is highly influenced by propaganda just to spread its popularity, because U.S. and other countries just like to have something to talk about like it. It's a long-lived cultural fantasy. He argues that it's just over time it's developed and became more of a scare and bizarre sounding. It's not confined to right-wing arguments, he argues, and this is seen in McCarthyism back in the Cold War era and whatnot. And it's highly popular during post-war, which is it's seen as a post-war conspiracy because soldiers will come back over completely different than what they were before they went overseas, arguing the brainwashing side. However, that's more knowledge versus interpretation because we don't really know what happened, and it's more interpreting their behavior rather than actually knowing. Melly argues that it's a serious case, however, it's very ludicrous sounding to him. My thoughts, after my research, I would probably side with the yes side. I was really in between and torn afterwards, after reading through each of these. The reasons I side with that is because, like I said in the beginning, the childhood stages is my interest, and I just feel like that's really where our roots are founded upon, and we can be really persuaded by our parents' beliefs, like we were talking about the racial black versus white. I feel like that definitely starts at the home. Like it says, parental influence, what we see, what our parents say we feel is right, especially at a young age, like a teacher or any authority figure. Religion, I was really persuaded by the seeing without believing factor, to have a belief founded upon something that happened so long ago, to actually have to believe a reading or a text in front of you by authority figures just seemed very manipulating to me. The reading about the communist interrogation processes and just how they attack you psychologically just really made it seem as if manipulation. And also another thing important to point out is the routines, like daily routines. I feel like they're so systematic and robotic. We just go through our natural schedules just like without any sense of like change, and if something were to change, we get all rattled and whatnot, especially as college students. Pros to this debate is that there's multiple references and examples for both sides. That's why I was so torn. And there's also, as time progresses, there's more and more joining of groups and members doing whatnot to join groups, and also there's been testing throughout this whole process of manipulation and brainwashing over the years. And also it's important to note that subjects can question, they're not just sitting there and taking it. And it's also important to know that the society's also ever evolving. We're getting advances in the psychological world, being able to get deeper inside someone's mind and attacking them psychologically. The future of brainwashing, you could point out that programming, such as robots and microchips for humans, we can program a person to think a certain way, to do certain things. Robots, we can create those to do daily jobs for society through manipulation processes. Manipulants, such as foreign aliens, whether they're from this world or in the future if they're from some other world, just basically manipulating to our society as like we would do with any immigrant that came over to the United States. We manipulate them to thinking our way is the right way, and that's why the U.S. has become such a powerhouse. And another important thing is government. Who knows what the government can do with manipulation, manipulation tactics in the future regarding voting which way, voting for certain bills to be passed, and certain aspects that will affect the entire country as a whole. And thank you for paying attention, and these are my resources.